There's no point standing around. We'll only be showered by more boulders. Ready your horses on the double.
Be honest, are all of us riding to our deaths?
Yes, we are.
And since we're dying anyway, you say it's better if we at least die fighting?
I am.
But wait, if we'll die anyway, then who cares what we do? We could just disobey your orders, and it wouldn't mean a thing, would it?
Yes, you're precisely right. Everything that you thought had meaning, every hope, dream, or moment of happiness, none of it matters as you lie bleeding out on the battlefield. None of it changes what a speeding rock does to a body. We all die. But does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there's no point in our being born? Would you say that of our slain comrades? What about their lives? Were they meaningless? They were not! Their memory serves as an example to us all! The courageous fallen! The anguish fallen! Their lives have meaning because we, the living, refuse to forget them! And as we rise to a certain death, we trust our successors to do the same for us! Because my soldiers do not buckle or yield when faced with the cruelty of this world! My soldiers push forward! My soldiers scream out! My soldiers rage! This video requires zero introduction, besides the very cool and awesome one you just watched. Since many moons ago, I had faced and decimated a beast with only Yi artillery, for the most part. Now I must set my sights higher, a more deadly and intense foe like none other, the Eradicator Mark II. If this was me speaking many months ago, when I first began my journey, I would tell myself this challenge impossible. But I've conquered this monster many times now, oh yes. Each time that I faced him, I've learned more and more, from the early game gauntlet to the final countdown of his last moments. I've studied everything there is to know about this foe. And now it is time I go back to where everything started and show this monster what democracy looks like. Going into the challenge, we wanted all the odds in our favor. So we chose the map Apocalypse, which is basically the new oil rig map, only without the stupid, oil rig in the middle, granting the artillery full map range. The next thing we wanted was to stay as true to the artillery only as much as possible. So instead of giving our prayers to John Roblox, what was I on? We used Grenadiers for early game, Booster Troopers for mid game, and Mine Layer in case anything leaks. Basically turning this challenge into explosives only, but that's besides the point. Lawrence and I started off the match with only 2 Grenadiers in total, which actually did a pretty good job, carrying us to wave 6, where it sadly falls off to the Hiddens. But that's when Ghost and Hoovy placed their artilleries. Having done literally nothing, they were able to place it down at a really early wave. But even having such an absolute unit for the early game, the artillery is only as good as its user. And in this case, the users absolutely failed at their job. I mean, we let this ranger that's almost more than half HP get through. And even with a mine layer in the back, we were left on our last legs. What seemed like a clutch was actually more of a warning that this mistake will soon bite us in the ass later. Wave 10 didn't seem like a big deal at the time, since the biggest issue we had with said wave was the Grenadier, which we all had the perfect counter for. But what we didn't take into account was the Knight. In every other challenge, the Knight wouldn't be an issue since the DPS output we had was normally more than enough. However, the artillery at its lowest level only does around 90 to 150 damage, which was good for taking out large clumps of zombies, but not good enough for a single target damage, at least not yet. This caused us to focus almost all of our fire onto it, disregarding the stealthed mutated zombies from the next wave. Once the Knight left our range, we all aimed back at the remaining enemies, except they were already too far gone, only leaving them at their second phase. Usually, we could just tank them since they were only at 30 HP, but because we took all that damage from the ranger, we unfortunately lost. It was a simple mistake that underwent a domino effect, leading to our demise. So we decided that maybe 2 artilleries weren't enough, and got a third one by wave 9, so we didn't have to tank anything at all. This made killing the Knight a whole lot lot easier, which meant the wave 11 stealthed zombies were no longer a problem, since we could focus on taking them out. After getting our footing back, every other wave in the early game became piss easy. Like, I mean really easy. The artillery just does an incredible job at countering everything the early expert waves throws at us. Even the waves that might pose a threat to us were nothing too scary, since everyone on the team had impeccable aim, learning their lesson from the Ranger incident. But seriously, this just goes to show how important and valuable the artillery is to have in your loadout. Its ability to pick and choose what to hit with almost no restrictions, that only being if it has explosive resistance, but even then we can still overwhelm it, but that's besides the point. Giving it the ability to literally counter everything in the early game. Too many zombies? Let's remove it. Where are the zombies? I don't know, I don't see them. The zombies that are immune to bullets? Kaboom. The zombies that are running past our defenses? Kaboom, that takes 2 to 3 business days.
Wait a minute.
Like, do you see what I'm saying? Anyways, almost every single one of us had at least 2 artilleries to operate, which slowly, given the DPS, but surely, given the map length, killed everything that came towards us. As wave 24 came to a close, I decided to set up a few bottom path grenadiers to try and slow the armored rush a tiny bit. Even though yes, it did stun them, it was definitely shorter than I anticipated, sending them racing through the map. They got extremely far, causing us to panic and place down a crap ton of mine layers, which finished the last one off. The next 5 waves were spent setting up and preparing for the mid-game boss, the Predators. Wait, not those guys. These Predators. They were going to be fully stealthed, so we decided to get a healthy balance between the 2 upgrade paths for the artillery, only maxing 4 top paths and getting the rest of bottom paths. Right as wave 30 begins, we spam as many towers on the field as possible to distract the Predators for as long as possible. We knew that there was no way we could lose this wave, and that all we had to do was keep up the distractions until they eventually died. Halfway through the wave, one of us manages to get a Skyhawk, which speeds up the execution. After the rather forgetful death, I set up a thermite mine layer in the front to do extra damage over time. I wasn't really sure if it was any good, but it was pretty cool to look at. Something about watching things burn and explode just tickles a spot in my brain. Anyways, at this point, we had multiple Skyhawks, which meant not a single hidden zombie stood a chance anymore. We then began our endgame preparation by placing even more top path artillery and getting more EDJs. We also had a few missile troopers too, since we felt bad nobody was using them. Absolutely nothing was able to get past our barrages of artillery shells. It was like nothing I've ever seen before. My old artillery video pales in comparison to this wave alone. We felt like there was nothing able to stop us. Then we were revisited by an old friend. The wave 36 stealthed armored runners striked again, and struck hard. We weren't able to keep up with their insane speed and unfortunately lost. Normally, I would be upset, but you know what? I'm thankful.
Why is that?
Well, we wouldn't be able to go back and hear this wonderful performance.
What are you talking about? What performance?
First, the overture. Yes, the strings. Listen carefully. Can you hear it? Now the brass.
I can hear it.
Placing down as many decoy towers in the front as I could, we were finally ready for his arrival. And there he was, this wasn't going to be as easy as the Plague Doctor fight, since he heals way more often and deals way more damage. The damage output wasn't outstanding, but just enough to give us hope of victory. As he launches his missiles, spews flames from his jaws, and fires his quadruple machine guns, we knew he wasn't going down without a fight. Our distractions were working wonderfully, taking damn near all of his fatal attacks like a champ. He was just about 1/3 of the way around the map, and we already had him at half HP. Our determination was unwavering. We knew victory was only an arrow shot away. Entering our main line of defense, he obliterates our top path artillery. We knew then that if we wanted to beat him, it would mainly be by the force of the Skyhawks. The Eradicator was now halfway through the map and only 1/3 of his HP remaining. He was on the verge of death and launched a volley of attacks our way. The Skyhawks stood strong while the rest of their artilleries were blown away. He heals himself and advances deeper and deeper into the map. I spam as many towers as I possibly can to bait out any attack to try and prevent him from healing further. But he just won't stop and clings onto life. It was the final stretch. His HP was draining extremely fast. There was nothing he could do. No amount of healing could allow him to reach the end. This victory was finally ours. The artillery has claimed the life of the Eradicator Mark II. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end, and massive shout out to Ethan for voice acting and collaborating with me. He makes TDX content, and you should definitely check him out. Anyway, I would also like to thank you guys for your overwhelming support on my previous video. And until next time, Saltar.